and the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Kyle here, and it is Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for all the toy news, action figure news of the week that interested me, that hopefully interests you. And if you're lucky like me, today's Valentine's Day. Always great to spend the day with people that you love, or the person you love, and I'm talking about you, Todd McFarlane from the couch. That's to you for Valentine's Day. More on that in the future, but today we got a lot of toy news to talk about, a lot of toy news to dive into. But before we get into that, you got to thank the sponsor of the toy news this week. It is jaystoysandgames.com. Use discount code Kyle. Save yourself 15% on all in-stock items. Got to get a deal out there, especially on Valentine's Day. And I got to figure out my Valentine's Day plans. Luckily, my wife is pretty easy. Not as easy as you, Todd, on the couch, but she's pretty easy. We'll probably just get something to eat and call it a night. I don't know. We'll see what happens. More on the podcast. Maybe, maybe not. But a big week this week for toy news, and probably a big weekend for toy news, is Toy Fair 2026 going on right now in New York City. A lot of moving and shaking going on at Toy Fair. It's not quite San Diego Comic-Con. It's more industry-driven, retailers and companies trying to come together on product buys, stuff like that. You'll have Walmart buyers there, Target buyers there, and all the favorite toy companies of ours selling their wares, trying to promote their brands, trying to get retail space, etc., etc. But there is some announcements. We'll talk about a few here. Who knows? It could be a big weekend of announcements, and maybe we'll do a bonus toy news. We'll see where it ends up going there. But Toy Fair, always a fun one. We're going to Toy Fair now. We got Mattel revealed here in March, I want to say that is. Right after that, you got WrestleMania with all the toy news from wrestling that comes from that, as you gear up to San Diego Comic-Con in July. So a lot of stuff coming. The toy news, keep it coming pretty hot. But let's dive into the toy news here. What we know as of right now, of course, this video always goes up Friday for Patreon members, Saturday for traditional YouTube. And speaking of Patreon, before we get to that, I should say we got the giveaway this month, Street Fighter 2 Rock, and of course, Brody Lee Jazzwares exclusive. Both of those are eligible for, if you're a Patreon member, to win those. So check out the Patreon, support the channel, all that kind of fun stuff. But let's dive into the news. Rumors this week for WWE Mattel that there's going to be a Jelly Roll figure. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. But, a year ago, what is time once again, they talked about a Bad Bunny figure that never happened. So will it have a similar fate? Who knows? If I'm Bad Bunny, if I'm Jelly Roll, I want an action figure. You think they would want that to happen if it can. We'll see where that goes. Got to be honest, Jelly Roll, Bad Bunny, they don't do anything for me. They're no Genghis Khan, of course. Watch the podcast this Tuesday. I tell you guys everything you need to know about Germany. Everything you need to know by a guy that's never been there. Check out the podcast, but I can tell you about my favorite band, of course. So check that out if you missed it. But Jelly Roll's music does nothing for me. Bad Bunny's music does nothing for me. I guess I know them more from wrestling than their music because it's just not for me. You like what you like, you don't what you don't. I want some heavy metal. I want some Genghis Khan. That's what I want. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But that would be a major coup, and there'd be a lot of crossover appeal to general mass audience that aren't even wrestling fans. Let's say you're a Jelly Roll fan. You probably want a Jelly Roll figure in your collection. So makes sense. It's about business at the end of the day. And speaking of business, nothing else really going on with Mattel. Nothing else going on with Jazzwares. Jazzwares is going to be very interesting this weekend with Toy Fair. Will anybody get Jeremy Padower cornered into a corner? But if I'm Jeremy, I'm not spilling any beans because I truly believe there's some negotiation periods going on. I've covered it at length in my videos. Check them out if you want to hear more about that. My thoughts on the AEW license. We'll see where that one goes. But how about moving over to some third-party companies here? We'll go over to Grapplers and Gimmicks. We'll go to the Regime. We're going to lead off with them. We saw some images here, prototype images of Raven and Ahmed Johnson as they're coming along here. Going to be very interested to see how well these figures do. And if these knock it out of the park, I think that's just going to get more momentum for this style of figure in the Regime line. So very excited to see how those come here later this year. And then a surprise Toy Fair weekend drop. We're seeing a lot of that kind of stuff. Heels and Faces with the Brian Myers we talked about last week. We're seeing that from Mitch over there. Sergeant Slaughter, the Legacy Collection. You got a single carded Sergeant Slaughter and a Sarge with General Adnan. both available on Grapplers and Gimmicks right now. Check those out if you're after those. We also saw some big rubber guy announcements this week here. And man, it's been tough. If you're a big rubber guy collector, January, February has been pretty rough on the wallet. Like 7-8 figures, something like that, announced and dropped. Obviously, you don't have to get it all, but I know there's a lot of people wanting to be a completionist out there. But we did get 2 evergreen figures of Andre the Giant with the corrected paint face, skin tone is what I'm looking for. Skin tone, Andre with the corrected skin tone, and Ric Flair repaint in a suit. I hope they fixed the standing issues on Ric Flair. I'm guessing they probably did not. It's the same mold. Got to get the most out of your molds. We know how it goes. But both of those are going to be available in March, and they shouldn't sell out right away. They're going to be evergreen for a while. So if you want those, you can play a little of that waiting game. Me personally, they don't ship till March. I'm not going to buy them till March. Why get my money tied up for an extra month? Who knows? Who knows? You might need that money for something. But available right now over there. And the Rougeaus ending this month. So if you want the Rougeau brothers, and why wouldn't you want the Rougeau brothers? They're available right now as well. We also saw WrestleFeds this week. Now, we unboxed those British Bulldogs, and I got to say, I was bowled over by those figures. Those figures were absolutely amazing. Some of the best retros in the game. Going to be very interesting at the end of this year when we do a top 10 retro countdown, as I got to think WrestleFeds is going to be on the board with a couple, if not more than that. So we'll see where it goes. But we did see Tatanka x3 this week. Very cool. Of course, everybody loves a little Tatanka. And I am of the camp that wasn't a huge fan of the original Hasbro Tatanka as a kid. I obviously bought it. I wanted everybody I could. But it just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. This is like what you dreamed of Tatanka to be back then. So very cool. You got 3 to choose from. Or WrestleFeds would probably say, why not buy them all? So buy them all if you want to. But we got Tatanka around the corner. We got My Fandom Spotlight series here. Now, this is like the out of sight, out of mind retro company for me personally, maybe you as well. We don't hear a ton about them, and a lot of that has to do with they haven't released any figures yet. They've had a lot of announcements. They've announced Series 1, but nothing has come to retail. But here they are announcing Series 2. My Fandom Spotlight series is, I guess, an ancillary set. I guess that's how it's going. But this is more star-studded than their other series. That's at least how I read into this. So we got Angelina Love coming for that. A very cool one for Wrestling Magazine aficionados once upon a time in Bill Apner. We got Skull Von Crush and Big Vito, ECW, WCW, even a little WWE mixed in there. So we got that. And speaking of, we got Mordecai and Kevin Thorne. So an interesting set here of name talent, I'll say. Guys that have had a cup of coffee on the big stage. But then they have the Indie Stars Series 2. And you can't have an Indie Stars series without indie wrestling. Of course, Indy Hartwell, former Mattel basic figure once upon a time. TNA superstar. She is going to be part of that set. I think that's one of the biggest names here, if not the biggest name of this group. We got Mighty Maccabi. I don't even know who that guy is, but kudos to him for getting a figure. We got Ruckus. You know he's going to bring the Ruckus, Todd McFarlane. That's right in his name. So we got Ruckus coming there. Sean Donovan. And then last, but certainly least. No, not least, but Bad Attitude. So I'm not familiar with that. They are Indie Stars, and I believe they're Northeast Indie Stars outside of Indy Hartwell. She's indie wrestling, after all. But we do have those coming. So keep our eyes on that. I'm not sure what to think of that. Retro overload is a thing for a lot of people, including myself. So we'll see where this ends up going here in the future. We also saw Title Run Toys. Speaking of retro wrestling figures, Mark Marrow ×2 once again. So we got 2 versions of Mark Marrow, the Marvelous one, as he's known in some circles. Yes, Johnny B. Bad as well, Todd McFarlane. We got him coming for Title Run Toys. So if you're after that, get your order in on that one there. Zombie Sailor Toys, who is at New York Toy Fair, showing his wares. He posted a picture on Thursday of his setup. Looks pretty nice, and it's got to be smooth out there at Toy Fair. Looking pretty good. He's selling that Brian Myers, as we said, as a limited Toy Fair exclusive. One of 499, and as of filming, less than 200 left of that one if you're after it. But we also saw in the background, I'm sure better pictures will come, Zombie Sailor Toys Macho King Randy Savage. We got another Macho Man. We were told it was a Macho Man Legacy collection, so I guess that continues on the Legacy collection. Hard to see what it was, but it looks very colorful, which is nice to see. We also saw in the banner behind Zombie Sailor, it looks like he will be doing Ace Ventura figures, which is interesting. Probably everybody's favorite pet detective, I'd have to imagine. Does anybody know any other pet detectives out there? But we got Ace Ventura figures coming. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I don't think I'll be buying those. I like Ace Ventura. I enjoyed those movies when I saw them as a kid, but I don't know if I need action figures of them. But your mileage may vary, as we always do talk about. Our friends over there at Latuni keeping the big rubber guy craze going. They got Ric Flair showing that one off from their Wrestling Giant series. Ric Flair in the middle of promo. I appreciate stuff like this. An extremely deep cut. Nobody's ever done it before. I think there's a lot of fun with this Ric Flair. I will probably pick this one up when the time comes. We also got an announcement on Friday. It looks like Macho Man Randy Savage train continues with Latuni. They've had a lot of Macho Men, but this one is from, I believe, the Arsenio Hall show once upon a time. The black and white silver attack for Macho Man. I like that it's different. It looks different from everything else. I'm not sure I like the big kind of wings and fringe up there. It almost looks like a bird ready to take flight. It's going to take up a lot of real estate on a shelf, which isn't always the best thing as well. But we did see that one, and I'm pretty sure that is Macho Man from his Arsenio Hall show appearance many, many moons ago. So a lot of wrestling news, a lot of wrestling stuff coming. Mattel, AEW, Jazzwares lying in the weeds a little bit right now, as you can imagine. Not sure what their presence will be. Not sure what a lot of these companies' presence will be at toy fairs. There's not usually a lot of new stuff. Usually the newest stuff that is shown off at the toy fair stuff is when they're announcing new toy lines and stuff. So I can see a lot of Masters of the Universe stuff being shown off this weekend here. Possibility Mattel DC, but I think it's too early for that. I think San Diego Comic-Con is where we'll see more of that kind of stuff. But there's always surprises, and we'll follow back up if we need to in the future with that. But Todd, the time has come on this beautiful Valentine's Day. It's time for the Power Town Update.
Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering?
All right, time for a Valentine's Day Power Town Update. And this week I was up in Minnesota, Todd McFarlane. You knew about that. You were watching the dogs for me and all that kind of stuff. It was really nice of you. Kids and I, we went and saw Joe Bob Briggs. Shout out to Joe Bob Briggs. Salt to the earth, Joe Bob. He said I'm a drive-in kind of guy, and I was the best dressed at the occasion, which that's all usually how it goes. But I was up in Minnesota, so while I was meeting with Joe Bob, and you can check the video on the channel, watch this Tuesday's edition of the Kyle Peterson Show podcast. I am going to tell you about the worst meet and greet experience of all time. I was losing my mind. Nothing against Joe Bob. It wasn't his fault, but I'm going to tell that whole tale on the podcast. And I'm sure a lot of you guys and you gals have probably had a similar experience. So check out that on the Tuesday's podcast, or right now if you are a Patreon member. But as I was up in Minnesota, as one does, I went and visited Jesse the Body Ventura. He lives up there. He was up there at his primary residence up there in Minnesota. And I said, Jesse, what's going on? How you doing? I'm going to Joe Bob. I got an extra ticket if you want to go. And he was busy. He said he was clipping his toenails or something. I can't remember what he said he was doing. But I said, Jesse, I want to get your thoughts once again, since we're right here. Let's talk a little Power Town. What's going on with this Power Town? Give me your thoughts. Give me your opinion on what's going on right now.
And I blame the United States people for this too. They're getting what they deserve, because the last election was simple. You had the choice of the Constitution or the criminal. And for some reason, they took the criminal.
It's a little wild because Jesse, maybe a little confusion in his old age. Tom McFarlane, I'm not exactly sure, as he blames a lot of us. And I kind of can look in the mirror, and I think we should all look in the mirror every once in a while. You look in the mirror and say, am I at fault here for this Power Town situation? This situation we've got ourselves in. Are we enabling Power Town? Because let's be honest, we knew there was a lot of shenanigans with Series 1, but we put our faith in Series 2 and beyond, and that was where the mistake happened. We put our faith in that. So a little of that egg is on our face, and you know how that goes, Todd McFarlane. So that is a little bit different, a little bit sad, but it's a little bit interesting to reflect back. And, you know, we're all a little guilty here. We enabled this project from Gagne and Magnum TA and Steve Rosenthal as well. So it's a little dangerous, all things considered here, but you know, we trusted Greg Gagne, and he told us right there in that video, we shouldn't have put our trust in those people, and we should have known better. So Jesse, kind of like wise old grandpa experience right here, giving us some facts there, and it's something to think about. But to me, I know exactly what it's going to take to get these Power Town figures. And I think I might have to double down on the hoochie coo tonight. I think so. If we're going to get these things, I'll do my part. You do yours. I'm going to double down on that. But also this week, I did go back to the group, and Jesse was there. And Jesse likes to change his look from time to time. But I've been talking over the last, I don't know how many years, but we got the Power Town Recovery Group. It's 4 individuals that came together for the better good of trying to get these Power Town figures. Some of the key pillars of the United States, key pillars of the universe, really, when I say it. But these guys are some of the greatest minds, and we all sat down together, and it was the Power Town Recovery Group, and a little look at the meeting this week.
There has to be a leader of this group, and I think that guy is me. There is no way a guy with the nickname Bread Jesus is leading this group.
And I didn't get the whole video there, but Bread Jesus did win out in the end. Was there any surprise of that, Todd McFarlane? But I will be leading that group going forward here. And we actually met down in Kansas City this week as I was down there for work. And Bread Jesus was on full display. I had the sandals, the robe, everything. I was blessing the bread all over the place this week. So check that out, of course. But the Power Town mission continues. Hopefully we get some answers. Who knows? Maybe Gagne and them will surprise us. They'll sit there at a toy fair. They'll get a little card table out. They'll put that down, make their own spot. Because I think, wasn't it last year they were at New York Toy Fair? If I'm not mistaken, I believe they were. We'll see. I'm sure somebody will report it if they are there, but I just can't see those guys showing their face. But man, oh man, the silence is golden. The silence continues, and we're nearing the 1-year anniversary here in March of the last time they updated their website. So it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. But as Jerry Reed always says, now we move over to some very interesting... Now we move into some very interesting news that is not wrestling related here. As big news this week via Mattel, as they did announce officially they are taking over the TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles licensing from Playmates. Playmates having it for about 40 years or so. A new generation, a new era with Mattel taking over. And you have to imagine that Mattel is going to do their formula here. You'll have your very kiddie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff. You'll have your middle-of-the-road turtle stuff, and you'll have your deluxe collectors turtle stuff. So going to be very interested to see where this universe goes here with Mattel. Now, it was very interesting. As I was down in Kansas City, I was driving home, and one of my buddies, a longtime buddy, he plays the stock market like a maniac. I'm more invested in funds. Like, here's a 2045 fund. I'm invested in that. He's one that gets in the weeds every day, spending an hour doing changes, moving and shaking. I wish I had time for stuff like that. But he called me and said, hey, Kyle, I know you're into the toy game. He's not in the toy game. And he said, hey, Mattel's stock just plummeted pretty good. They dropped like $7 a share or something like that. He goes, I wanted to call you and get your thoughts on that. And I have a feeling that they might be rebounding soon. And he goes, I read the article. And my buddy, he read the article and said, the Barbie, not having a Barbie sequel out so soon has hurt the stock prices and some fewer sales for Barbie, apparently. Now, that's one thing we got to take that business step back, because you and me, we're talking He-Man, we're talking all these other properties. At the end of the day, I would have to say Barbie is probably their biggest property over there at Mattel. Something we don't cover on this channel, Todd McFarlane, as you know. So when Barbie takes a hit, the company takes a hit. So the stock prices are down. But I said, hey, just last night, they announced they got the Turtles license. They got DC license a while back. They're going to have figures out this summer. I'm pretty sure WWE license is going pretty strong for them, is the way we see much product coming out. I said Mattel could be a buy stock, Tom. And my buddy Tom is his name. Tom Flash Gordon, as he's known in some circles. Kansas City relief pitcher legend once upon a time, Tom Flash Gordon. You guys know. If you know, you know. Hanging out with George Brett, George Brett Parkway down there in Kansas City. I was there. No big deal. But I said, I'm not a stock guy. I don't play a lot of those stocks. I do the other stuff, and I let my dad help me with all that kind of stuff too. But I said, to me, I'd buy in. Why wouldn't you? Because I think they're going to get a lot of boosts from the Turtles, a lot of boosts from DC, and Barbie, you got to think she'll figure her way into another movie eventually, right? Right? So we'll see what happens there. But we do know the Turtles is coming to Mattel. Going to be very, very interesting to see what that means for our wallet. It really feels, and we talked about this like a year ago when we talked about all these properties coming up for rebid and possibly going away. I didn't expect the Turtles to be part of that, but really closing the book on a lot of toy lines that a lot of us collect and new doors being opened. And it's like, do I want to go through that door? Do I want to start anew? Do I want to start fresh? We all got to look ourselves in the mirror. That's what it is. It's like the man in the mirror, that terrible Michael Jackson song once upon a time. Very similar to that, I guess, is what it is. But should be good for Mattel. I'd have to think all these new properties, their heavy hitter properties, should go very well for them. But speaking of Ninja Turtles, how about Super 7 Ultimate Ninja Turtles back again? Not my Ninja Turtles. I haven't really bought. I guess I did buy the 4 Turtles. I guess I did. And that's where I stopped. But we do got some new ones here. We got April O'Neil. We got the Hun. We got the Cycle, and we got Cycle riding Raphael. So we got 4 new Ultimate figures. We don't hear a lot of Ultimate stuff anymore. Few and far between, but we'll see how well this Turtle line does. I think a lot of us are hoping they go back to the old Turtles that they started with to complete the Playmates versions. I think a lot of us would like to see that. But if you're into the newer versions of Turtles, and decades old at this point too, check out Super 7 as well. But the biggest Turtle news this week outside of Mattel was the official announcements from Playmates for later this summer. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle GI Joe crossover event of a generation, dare I say, possibly a lifetime. I want to like this. I want to get this. I like Turtles. I love GI Joe. But how much stuff can you buy? How much stuff can you get? And for some reason, Turtle crossovers just don't really excite me. It's like I wanted to love the Turtles of Grayskull, but it just felt a little flat to me. This one also feels a little bit flat. It's fun to see the interpretations of what they do, and I got pictures here. We did see the Awe Striker. We talked about that a few weeks ago. We actually talked about this entire line and wave, but now we got the pretty promotional images. We got the Awe Striker, which is cool to get the GI Joe vehicle. We got Roadblock Raphael, an interesting one. Snake Eyes Leonardo, I think that fits with the, of course, the katana blades. Michelangelo Shipwreck. I don't know Shipwreck is a party dude, but my buddy Flint told me a story or two, so I guess I can let this one slide. Dial Tone Leonardo is an interesting one. That feels like, I don't know if Dial Tone's a deep cut. I don't think he's a deep cut, but it feels like a deep cut for Series 1. Maybe that's just me personally, but that's interesting. I love the big old push broom they gave Donatello. And then we got Scarlet April O'Neil, which I guess makes sense as well. So noticeably conspicuous by his absence is Duke. I think, of course, the Playmates group said this guy is not the true leader. We do not want him in there. And then the problem with Flint is he has so many great qualities of all the different turtles. They really didn't understand, where can we put this guy? Where could he be? Who could he fit in? So I think they said, we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want this line to fail immediately. So we better just kind of think about it for a while, I think is what they did. So good for them there. Now we got Shredder, of course, Cobra Commander, Krang, Destro. We got Bebop and Rocksteady, as was that Buzzer and Ripper. And then I want to say that Slash has to be Slash's Storm Shadow. So we got the bad guy side as well. Now, Playmates losing the Turtle license, you have to think this thing's on borrowed time from the get-go. Could they get those out in the summer, these two waves? Is it one wave, two waves? Get those out in the summer and get a follow-up in the fall-winter timeframe before the license runs out? I guess we'll see here, but I think I'm going to pass on these. I'd be interested to hear your take on these. I'm sure somebody watching this is loving G.I. Joe and somebody's loving Turtles. Maybe you love both. Be interested to hear if you're going to pick these ones up, but it seemingly looks like a pass from me, which I don't know if everybody would guess that or not. But transitioning here to G.I. Joe, we did see the Cobra Royal Guard here. Of course, Cobra la 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 la, as we know in some circles. We did see that. It is coming up for pre-order over there on Hasbro Pulse. I'm getting 2 or 3 of these. Very fun looking figure. I love the Cobra Law. I know it is very divisive for people. They don't love, some love it, some hate it. I love Cobra Law, so I am here for this. Can't wait to get that. And then a new figure announcement this week that just kind of was for me personally. Don Moreno, Snake Eyes. Now, I don't have any familiarity with this character. I believe it is 100% comic book. It is 100% comic book. And I think Snake Eyes died and she took over the mantle. Just doesn't do a lot for me. It just doesn't speak to the nostalgic aspect of my G.I. Joe fandom. It's cool for an ancillary character, and let's be honest, you want the Joe line, you want any of these lines to continue, you got to build new stars, you got to pepper some of those in every once in a while, and we see that right here. You know, Larry Hama, a good friend of the channel, Larry Hama, he said, you know what, I'm going to put my seal of approval. I think he created this character, if I'm not mistaken. So it's got a lot of ties to the past. It just doesn't have the nostalgic ties to the past. But it is what it is. They're building out the set. 197, I think her number is going to be. Who is going to be number 200? Have they officially said that? Have they officially announced anything like that? Very anxious to see. I want to say classified figure 100 was part of the Hiss Tank stuff, wasn't it? Or am I dreaming that maybe? But anyways, we'll see where that ends up going. But now we go on over to NECA, as Friday the 13th was on Friday. Now, I didn't play my cards right. Some behind-the-scenes magic of my YouTube channel or whatever. I've been on the road for like the last week and a half. I've been working, doing meetings, doing all kinds of stuff. As you can imagine, when you're traveling, you're working 50, 60 hours a week at your day job. Sometimes it's tough to keep up with stuff every once in a while. And luckily, I had a lot of videos in the bank that I could still put out. But I put out 4 videos a day every single day while I was gone. Obviously, a lot of that stock is depleted. I think I got like 80 classic superstar videos that have never went to traditional YouTube. And I got like 20 of them that have never even went to Patreon yet. And the funny thing is they were filmed years ago. So you'll get them all eventually. They'll eventually go out there. But I'm a little bit behind on things. And I would have liked to have had a Friday the 13th. I got a few Friday the 13th things to unbox. I should have had one of those ready to go on Kyle Peterson 2.0. Totally spaced on it. I also wanted to do a Valentine's Day unboxing. Totally spaced on it. So you get what you get and you don't throw a fit, I guess, at this point here. But I got a ton of Friday the 13th stuff. I'll probably get to that around Halloween, I guess is what I'll end up doing. We'll see. But long story short, Friday the 13th, NECA officially announced a diorama of Jason's mom. Old Mama Voorhees, we got that coming. Apparently it's from the game is what it said in the press release. So that is going up for pre-order here, shipping probably around Halloween time. But they had to announce that, and good move by NECA, timing that into Friday the 13th. Makes a lot of sense to me. We also saw NECA coming out of the gate swinging here. A lot of people excited for these. I'm not very excited for these, in all honesty. NECA Batman Returns. Now, the figures look pretty good, but this is those cloth kind of Barbie doll closed figures, and I'm not a really big fan of that. I got just like one or two in my collection. They don't do a lot for me. I'd be a lot more excited if this was ultimate versions, but maybe in the future. We'll see what happens. But we got Penguin, we got Catwoman, we got Batman, we got the pen, the cat, and the bat is what we ended up getting there. But I know a lot of people are very excited about these, so good for you guys. An easy pass for me right here. But that's it for that portion of the toy news, but we got more to come. But you know, as Rob Halford always says...
Message from Rob Halford of Judas Priest.
Step on the red, cross on the green, never take a ride in a stranger's machine, and always make sure you're burning on turbo power.
And Rob Halford, as usual, always right. Always go to him for advice. I should bring him into the Power Town meetings, Todd McFarlane. You're not invited, you don't got time. Maybe Rob Halford's got some time. That Grand Wizard himself, old Rob Halford. But how about we dive into Marvel Legends? This week they had a nice Marvel Legends stream over there on Hasbro. We saw a lot of stuff announced this week, all comic related, which I think most people are excited for, myself included. We saw Maximum Thor. It's got all the bells and whistles with that all the bells and whistles price point. But you might like this, you might not, and you just move ahead if you don't want a piece of that one there. But very cool. Another key character. Be interested to see who's next after Thor. When are they going to get into the Wolverines of the world, the Cyclopses and stuff? It'll be interesting to see when that does happen. Wouldn't be shocked to see Iron Man probably next around the corner. We'll see. But speaking of X-Men, we did see Archangel. He's back with better than ever, maybe. Interesting enough, you know, it feels like just yesterday we got that old one, but it's probably been like 8 years or something. So this will be a nice update for the collection. Gonna have to use one of the different heads for the old one, try to make them as different as possible. You know, that whole rigmarole around here. So we did see that. We did see an upcoming Target exclusive, which we saw on the packaging of Mystique just recently. It is Onslaught, the former Build-A-Figure, getting a new lease on life as a Target exclusive. So check that out if you need it. Hasbro Pulse exclusive, I believe is what they said on Muse and Bullseye. I don't know Muse, I know Bullseye, but a different pack, I guess, a deep cut pack, we'll call it. And I could see why they wouldn't want to release that to everyone. We also saw another 2-pack of Black Widow and Quicksilver, two characters we've had quite a few figures of the last couple of years. A different interpretation, I think 90s version is what this is here. So if you're after that, that will be available fan channel, I believe. Very exciting to see Secret Wars back again. That was my introduction into the Marvel Universe as a little kid with those Secret War figures. That was the first time I'd ever heard of Marvel characters. So always a little bit nostalgic for me, even though I didn't have a lot of those figures. But did see Secret Wars Series 2. Absorbing Man, once again, a former Build-A-Figure getting a new lease on life. Constructor, been a long time. Has it been 10 years since the last one? Very cool to get that one there. We do get Magic. We've had a lot of Magic, but we haven't had her in her X-Men costume, so this is pretty cool. Kind of reminds you of the New Mutant days, obviously. We did see Daredevil. That was my first ever knowledge of Daredevil ever from this in this costume, so very nostalgic for me. Same thing with Falcon. He's been kind of clued out there by the Hasbro team. We got Falcon around the corner. And then we got Spider-Man here, as we do know the symbiote was born out of the Secret Wars. So we got a transition Spider-Man, is that what we want to call it? But we got that one around the corner. So a lot of good stuff, or at least in that live stream, I think, for Marvel. I think a lot of that stuff will resonate with the fan base, and a lot of stuff to pick up here sooner rather than later. And then we're not done with Marvel stuff, but we're going over to Mondo. Officially announced this week, officially up for sale. It is Mondo Beastman. So if you're after that one, now you guys know me, I love a hairy bipedal creature. It would pain me to sit this one out. I am totally on the fence. I'm leaning towards getting the non-timed edition as we speak right now. I just feel like I need that hairy bipedal creature. But then I'm like, if I get Beast, I really should get that Nightcrawler I missed and the Storm I missed. So what do? There's only so many funds. You don't want to go crazy on that stuff. But we'll see what ends up happening here in the future. But that one is a big, heavy, beefy boy. It's kind of like the equivalent of Beastman from the Mondo Masters of the Universe in a lot of ways. So we got that one coming. And then we're going to finish it off with our good friend Todd McFarlane. We talked about new toy lines, new licensees, And we've been talking about it a lot in the toy news that Todd, losing DC Multiverse, he's got to plug some holes. And I love plugging holes, especially on Valentine's Day, Todd McFarlane. And that's what Todd's been doing this week, as he's signed an agreement with Q Figs. I have never heard of this, but apparently going to make Spawn figures, DC figures, and Marvel as part of Q Figs. So Todd always on the cusp of something new, reaching out on that. And we also saw Helldivers 2. I have no idea what that is. And God of War, which is a video game. I've never played it, but I'm aware of it. So signing those licenses. So he's had that announcement kind of this week. We saw last week more sport picks, starting lineup type stuff for a lot of different properties. So we're seeing him divest into that kind of stuff. Toy Fair is this weekend. I have to imagine. Todd, you're flying the jet out there tonight, right? You'd have to be. I would have to think he's out there keeping everything mum's the word, but he does it with his toes as usual. But I have to think there might be some more surprises from Todd McFarlane and group at Toy Fair. If not there, San Diego Comic-Con, as the roadmap to 2027 starts to get a little bit clearer with all these pieces of the puzzles coming together. So we'll see where it all goes, but that's it. That is the toy news this week on a fine Valentine's Day Saturday. Be interested to hear what you were interested in this week. What are you hoping for? And we'll see. Remember, this was filmed Friday morning, so possibly some announcements come after that. We'll swing back, or if there's enough announcements, we'll make a special bonus toy news video. So we'll see where it all ends up going. But let me know your thoughts and everything we covered here today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the old notification bell. We got videos every single day, and then some, and even more content for you on Patreon, YouTube channel memberships. Your best way to support the channel. SirPaul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and The Kyle Peterson Show at gmail.com, which is also the name of my podcast, The Kyle Peterson Show. Available every Tuesday wherever podcasts are found, with video cast on YouTube. So for another week of toy news, you know what I'm doing? I'm rocking and rolling, strutting and strolling my way into a Valentine's Day weekend.
Are we gonna dance or are we gonna play?
My papa takes the bus to town. Mama promised me that I could go. I'm in a rave. I want Brody and I want him in a cage.
No fair.
See you later.